Text 14. Matra sparshastu konteya sitoshna sukha dukkada agama payino nityas tam titiksha vabharata. O son of Kunti, the interaction between the senses and the sense objects produce the sensations of cold, heat, pleasure, and pain. These feelings are temporary, always appearing and then disappearing. Thus, O descendant of Bharat, you must learn to tolerate them. Verse 15. Yam hi naviyatayantete purusham purusharshaba samadukha sukham dhiram somritattvaya kalpate. O most virtuous one, a sober man who is equipoised in both pleasure and pain and remains undisturbed is certainly qualified for liberation. Anuvritti, commentary by Jagad Swami, Bhakti, Gaurava, Narasingha, Maharaja. Arjuna is lamenting for the loss of the body, but Sri Krishna does not approve of his lamentation and reminds Arjuna that all living beings are eternal. Krishna says that he, Arjuna, and all those present on the field of battle are eternal personalities. They have existed eternally in the past, and they will exist eternally in the future. Arjuna is an accomplished student of Vedic thought and an associate of Sri Krishna, but for the benefit of those who will study this erudite conversation in the future, Arjuna is feigning bewilderment and confusion just to encourage the discourse. Arjuna is considered a liberated personality, and thus he is actually above ignorance and bewilderment. Although consciousness is eternal, the material body does not share this quality. The body passes through the stages of birth, childhood, youth, and old age, disease, and death. At death, the consciousness transfers to another body, according to karma, the laws of material nature, and begins the cycle yet again. The ever-changing body never bewilders those who are cognizant of the difference between the material body and consciousness. Embodied consciousness is said to have 5 stages known as the Panchakosha: Annamaya, satisfying our existence by eating as seen in children; Pranamaya, consciousness of the preservation of one's body; Manomaya, the stage of mental awareness; Vijnanmaya, the cultivation of consciousness based on higher knowledge, understanding one is not this material body; and Anandamaya, cultivating and entering into one's relationship with the Supreme as part and parcel of Krishna. The first 3 stages, Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya, pertain to all living beings that are caught in the doldrums of material sense enjoyment. Vijnanmaya and Anandamaya concern those who have acquired knowledge of self-realization, Vijnan, and perfection, Ananda. Those who are asleep, simply absorbed in bodily identification, never experience the world beyond their sense perceptions. Heat and cold, happiness and distress, pleasure and pain, birth and death, these are the perceptions of life experienced by those with no knowledge of consciousness. But those who are liberated from the bodily concept of life are awake in the conscious world and are always in balance, even in the face of opposing and contradictory situations in the material world. They are undisturbed. Verse 16. Na shato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata ubayorapi dristostas tvayanos tattvadarsibi. Of that which is temporary, there is no eternal existence. Of that which is eternal, there is no destruction or change. Seers of the truth have realized the constitutional position of both. Verse 17. Avinasi tudad vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyaya yashya nakachit kartum arhati. Know for certain that the individual consciousness which pervades the whole body is imperishable. Nobody can destroy the indestructible individual unit of consciousness. Verse 18. Antavanta imi deha nichayos kata sarinaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yujyasva bharata. Embodied consciousness is eternal, imperishable, and infinite. Only the material body is perishable. Therefore, O Arjuna, fight. Anuvritti, commentary by Jagad Swami Bhakti Gaurava Narasingha Maharaj. Herein, Sri Krishna is reiterating the superiority of consciousness over matter. Since the time of Darwin, and even amongst some philosophers of ancient India, such as Charvaka, up to the present day, there are those that think that life arises out of matter. The Big Bang Theory and other contemporary scientific ideas also support this opinion. However, the problem with such thinking is that there is no concrete evidence whatsoever to explain or demonstrate how lifeless matter ever developed the symptoms of life. The theory of evolution, as the Darwinians understand it, is substantially defeated in the fossil record, since no transitional species that are supposed to reveal the gradual evolution of living organisms from primitive species to advanced life forms have ever been discovered. Furthermore, there is no suitable model to explain where matter originated. The numerous theories, new and ancient, that expound that life arose from matter are fundamentally flawed in many ways. On the other hand, from observing microscopic living entities such as the flagellum to giant creatures like the elephant and whale, it is self-evident that life comes from life. Thus, the Vedic perspective on life is that all life comes from an intelligent life source, Sri Krishna. Scientific interest in finding the cause of the universe, and indeed to all life, is certainly laudable. Yet, when all reasonable and honest research leads us to the conclusion that life, consciousness, is not a byproduct of matter, and the blueprint of intelligent design can be observed everywhere and in all things, then it should be also intelligently concluded that superconsciousness is the cause of matter, the universe, and all living things. I'll add a note here. To me, it's amazing how people come out of the educational system in the West and simply believe everything that's taught to them, even though there's really no evidence for it. The idea that life springs from matter, there's no evidence for this anywhere in nature. In South India, where we have the Kalia Martin Krishna Ashram, popularly known all over the world as the Surf Ashram, it's a surf camp, there's a river there called the Shambhavi River. And in that river, there's an animal, crustacean, a shell crustacean, that breeds all along the bottom of the river. And there are actually trillions and trillions of this shellfish. And the local people, they scoop them up every day. Every day, if you go out to the river, you'll see no less than 5 or 6 people scooping up these shellfish, sometimes more. And then they take them home and they boil them and they eat them. And this has been going on since time immemorial. These shell crustaceans reproducing life, creating life. But you'll not find anywhere where matter is creating life. Yet people simply believe this theory of evolution simply because they were taught in school by professors who actually do not know the truth about many things. Yet they teach as if they do. And this is actually a crime against society and humanity. And although the material scientists have been propounding this idea that life springs from matter, and although they have for decades now trying to produce life from matter, they've not succeeded. They have all the ingredients in the laboratories. Why can't they create life? The best they can do is mix things together, and then they claim that they created life. And everybody knows that behind closed doors, they are mixing human and animal DNA and cells and trying to produce para-humans. This is all very ungodly stuff. But if you want to create a life, first of all, you should. And you want to play God in this way, first of all, you need to create the material elements. Don't simply take what's already there and then claim that you've created some type of life. No, you first create the material elements. They cannot do this because only Krishna, God, can do that. So this is what makes Krishna Krishna. This is what makes the Supreme Lord all-powerful and makes some of these scientists who are experimenting in this way fools. Text 19. Ya enam veti hantaram, yaschina manyate hatam, ubhau tau na vijanito, nayan hanti nahanyate. One who considers the eternal unit of consciousness to be the slayer and who considers it to be capable of being slain are both in ignorance, for it neither slays nor is slain. Verse 20. Najayate mrityate bakadachin nayam bhutva bhavitava nabuyaha ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. The individual unit of consciousness neither takes birth nor dies at any time. It has never been created, nor will it ever be created. It is unborn, eternal, indestructible, and timeless. It is not destroyed when the material body is destroyed. Text 21. Veda vinasinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katam sa purusaha partakam gayati hantikam. O Partha, considering that the individual unit of consciousness is eternal, unborn, imperishable, and indestructible, how can a person kill anyone? And whom does he kill? Anuvritti commentary by Jagad Swami Bhakti Gaurava Narasingha Maharaja. It is sometimes thought that God or some source of higher intelligence has created life in this universe. But herein Sri Krishna expresses that the individual consciousness of a living being is never actually created. It exists eternally as part and parcel of Krishna, as part and parcel of the Supreme Consciousness. In the Vedic concept of the Absolute Truth, Krishna exists eternally along with his energies. Consciousness, by that measure, is never created. It simply exists eternally as part and parcel of the Absolute Truth. The characteristics of consciousness are described as unborn, eternal, indestructible, and timeless. That which is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. The effects of time on the material body are perceived as growth, maintenance, byproducts, old age, dwindling, and death. But consciousness, being transcendental to matter, transcends time and therefore never grows old, dwindles, or dies. In certain religious traditions, the Creator is sometimes visualized as being an old man in the sky. He is naturally thought of as old because he has fathered the universe a long time ago, and he is the oldest of all. But here again, the conception of Bhagavad Gita differs dramatically. Consciousness is ever fresh, and the source of consciousness, the superconscious being, is always youthful and never old. Those who are engrossed in material affairs and who ignore the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita will find it very difficult to overcome the bodily concept of life and understand the difference between matter and consciousness. So I'll add a little bit of a note here. In the Abrahamic traditions and in Christianity, the concept of God is that of an old man. So in the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo, when he painted God with a very, very long beard. Because he's the oldest, he must have a very long beard. This concept is just the opposite of the Vedic concept. And think about it. If you were God, would you want to be old? Who wants to be old? My body's getting old. I don't like getting old. It's silly to think that if God is all-powerful, he would choose an old body. In fact, in the Brahma Samhita and the prayers of Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe, Lord Brahma prays, Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. End quote of Lord Brahma. Eternal, spiritual, blissful body. So Krishna's body is made of Sat Chidananda, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. He is an ever-fresh youth. In the Sanskrit, they say Nava Yovana, Nava meaning new and Yovana meaning youth. He is always fresh and clean and always becoming fresher and more attractive, never dwindling and getting old. It is just the opposite. Krishna is just the opposite of our material concepts of age. He is always getting younger. He's always getting more beautiful. Krishna never ages past 16 or 17, what appears to be 16 or 17, a fresh youth, Nava Yovana. He is always getting more beautiful. He's always getting more attractive. And more he is attracting all the individual units of consciousness, all the souls, all the almas towards himself. Nobody can compete with Krishna. I'll end this segment with a few quotes from the Vedic scripture, Chaitanya Charitamrita. O my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body. The soft smile on his face, which is like the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. The body of Krishna, the ocean of the eternal beauty of youth, can be seen to move in waves of beauty. There is a whirlwind at the sound of his flute, and those waves and that whirlwind make the hearts of the gopis, his servants, flutter like dry leaves on trees. When those leaves fall down at Krishna's lotus feet, they can never rise up again. There is no beauty to compare with Krishna's, for no one possesses beauty greater than or equal to his. Such is the greatness of the super excellent beauty of Krishna, the everlasting mine of all beauty. It is from that beauty that all beautiful things emanate. And this is a quote by Srila Rupa Goswami. My dear friends, if you still have any desire to enjoy the company of your friends within this material world, then don't look upon the form of Krishna, who is standing on the bank of the Keshi-God. He is known as Govinda, and his eyes are very enchanting. He is playing upon his flute, and on his head there is a peacock feather. His whole body is illuminated by the moonlight in the sky.